Bum, 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 bum. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of MIA. So, I am your host. I'm Nicky Says You Only Live Once, and my favorite season is here. It is Miami Art Week, and we have two guests today. We'll be talking about Threads of Resilience, celebrating art, beauty, and cultural legacy. Now, let's welcome our first guest for today. She is a visiting professor, fiber artist, and a costume designer. So, Professor Margerette Joyner, welcome to MIA Soul.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yep, blessed.
Yes, every day above ground is a blessed day. All right,
That's
so let's
right.
get into it.
Okay.
So what inspired you to use historical fashion as a medium for storytelling?
So I was doing some research on another project, and I ran across a sister by the name of Sarah Forbes Bonita. And she was an African child that was set up to be a sacrifice during the war. And a merchant, Frederick Forbes, rescued her. She was about 5 years old and took her to England, and she became Queen Victoria's goddaughter. So when I saw pictures of her, she was in these beautiful royal gowns and dark-skinned, chocolate, beautiful woman. But when she got sick, Queen Victoria sent her back to Africa because she felt like she could get better care there. And so when I looked at these garments, because first of all, historical garments are just, they're my thing. I love historical garments. And then I thought, okay, now if we take these garments and we incorporate her culture, what would that look like? So I didn't know what the call was or why the call was for me to do this, but I'm an obedient person. So when I'm called, I do what I'm told.
Right, exactly.
And then I saw a documentary on Chevalier de St. George, and he's an African-American violinist. And he was so bad that he had a concert with Mozart and outplayed him. But he too was dressed impeccably. And when he couldn't get to the heights that he wanted to get to, they sent him to his African mother. And so that was confirmation that this is what I needed to do, because I wanted to let our folks know, let everybody know that we are more than, always have been. We're more than slavery. We're more than we're depicted on how we're depicted on TV. We're more than. So that was the concept and why I chose to do this.
Yeah, and when you were explaining your inspiration, I kind of visualized the garments they were wearing back then. Very neat for the women. I know it was big bottoms and the waists were tight, so I kind of just visualized. I don't know why I thought about Bridgerton for some reason, but
Me too. Yes.
Yes,
I have a couple of gowns that are from that era, but they're made out of African fabrics and contemporary fabrics.
Beautiful. So tell us about your exhibition.
So I was called to do 12 garments, and so I gave myself 30 days per garment. And it started at UNC Charlotte at the Du Bois Center. It stayed there for about 3 months. Then it went to a historical museum and stayed there for 2 months, and now it's at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center in Miami.
Wow,
so very exciting. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the cultural significance of the materials.
So the materials, I found a little place in Richmond, Virginia, 5 loaves and 2 fish, who had a beautiful collection of fabrics. And as an artist, what I did was bought all this fabric back and let the fabric tell me what it wanted to be. And so once I did that, then the significance of it is that that's where our ancestors are from. That's where we all come from. Contrary to what folks may say, we all started there, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to merge our ancestry to our present and our future, so that I could show especially young people, that beauty and sexiness doesn't have to be skin.
Okay.
Okay.
That part.
That part.
Yes. Well, as far as the materials, is it from like a certain region in Africa or what part, I guess?
Most of the fabrics are from Senegal,
Okay.
but I do have a couple of pieces that are from Ghana. Mud cloth is across regions. Mud cloth is considered a royal fabric. And the more mud cloth and the more cowrie shells that you have on your garment, which each one of them is embellished with, then that speaks to the level of royalty that you are.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, like
Mhm.
if there's different levels of material, then it shows like I guess the status of the
Yes,
person wearing it. Oh, wow.
right. Right, because if you look at the Ashanti people, they use the kente cloth and golds and all these elaborate things. But then if you go to like the Maasai tribe, then you're talking about mud cloth and dirt and earthiness. So
Yeah.
yes, all of them have meaning.
Oh my God. I can't wait to see it. Like I love eclectic pieces that tells a story. And
Yes.
just hearing you speak, I could just visualize the colors and the
Hmm.
patterns and just the texture of it. Um,
Yes,
how does your work merge the past with the present?
because the cowrie shells at one time were used as currency.
Oh,
And also it spoke to royalty. So the more cowrie shells you had on your jewelry, the more you had on your clothing, that's how high your rank was. And so that fabric also, because it is based in Africa, which is where we all come from, I
right.
merged the contemporary fabric with that, and that's the present. So
That is
you will see an African garment made in the 18th century, like one of those Bridgerton dresses you were talking about.
yeah.
It's made out of African fabric, but then it has lace and it has silks. So some of them have
Wow.
right African fabrics and brocades. So I mix them all together because that's who we are.
Yeah, that's who we are. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, okay, so as far as your pieces, can we buy it? Do you rent it out, or are they only for movies or Broadway or shows? Like, how can we get our hands on your pieces?
So this particular collection is for show only.
Ah,
No, yeah.
okay.
I've sewn for God 40 years,
Yeah.
and I have come to the conclusion that I prefer being a textile artist as opposed to sewing for people that can get a bit. What's a nice word?
It could be
Challenging.
a little challenging. Yes, yes, yes. Could be a
Yes.
little special. Okay,
So now I
understood.
create costumes for theater productions mostly, and
Also,
then
theater productions.
mhm,
Okay, that's
yeah, right.
beautiful. Okay, then. And so, what is one takeaway that you want the viewers to walk away with after seeing your textile art?
First, I want them to envision themselves wearing it. That's
Mhm.
first. And then second, I want them to look at these garments and know the royalty that they come from. That we are more than how we're pictured on the news. We're more than how we're pictured in movies. We're more than how we are talked about. Our history is talked about. A lot of people think our history started with slavery. It did not. We were royalty from the beginning. We were royalty then, we're royalty now, and we will continue to be royalty in the future. We just have to take stock of it and own it.
And it's also education as well. I mean, a lot of
Mhm.
us are not educated on our background and
Right.
us coming from royalty. It's really big on education. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not talked about. You can
Yeah.
find a plethora of information on us as being enslaved people,
Hmm.
or maids, and not that there's anything wrong with any of that, because none of us wouldn't be here if our ancestors didn't endure that. However, it's a term in theater called yes and. Yes, we have to accept that and know that we stand on their shoulders, and we have to know that we're also royal.
Yes, definitely.
Mhm.
So, on what day and what time can we come and experience your exhibit?
So my understanding is that the official opening will be on the 7th. And then after that, that's a question for your next guest.
Okay, awesome. Wonderful. Well, looking forward to it. Super excited. I love eclectic pieces. I just love the whole tribal, Ankara, bohemian. I love that style, and I can't wait to see it. So it's nice to meet you, Professor Joyner, and we'll
You
see
as
you
well.
soon.
And I'm excited for you to see the exhibit.
Awesome. And safe travels. You're gonna travel on down, and
came and set it up, so they'll be sending me pictures and videos.
okay, so you'll be there in spirit. I got you.
I'll be
All
there.
right.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you. Have a good night. Have a good
You
day.
too.
All right, y'all. So our next guest, he is a Congolese narrative painter and curator. So coming up next is Bayunga Kialeuka after this quick commercial break.
I grew up down here in South Florida, so for me, it's a little bit more personal.
For the Mesman and Dover law firm, it's about community.
For us, South Florida's our home. You all are our people.
Our family, our future.
The difference we'll make for you, your loved ones, your kids, matters. Because to us, it's personal.
If you need us, call us 24/7 at 866-954-MORE.
That's 866-954-6673. The Mesman and Dover Law Firm, youraccidentattorneys.com.
At DRT Behavioral Services, we provide culturally sensitive mental health evaluations with thorough treatment plans, incorporating alternative forms of wellness, not just Western traditional medicine. Besides medication management and psychotherapy, we provide education to people in the areas of minority mental health with classes on your diet's impact on mood and sleep hygiene for better rest. We also offer weight loss therapy, massages, and facials. Visit brainlovehelp.com today.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
And welcome back. All right, so it's Bayunga, and it's Kialeuka. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes. All right, so let's get right into it. So you are a Congolese narrative painter and curator. How would you describe your work?
I will describe my work as narrative works that focus on social expressionism. And when I say social expressionism, I'm referring to my style in which encompasses subject matters about working class people, as well as borrowing from fast impact, driven painting style that you see from very neo-expressionists, such as those that hail from Germany or from America, such as Palmer Hayden or Max Beckman. So I'm very much influenced by various artists from different parts of the world. And the narrative part is not just from the storytelling of the environment around us, but I'm also heavily influenced by film. And interestingly enough, I was paying attention to the interview with Professor Joyner, and a few things struck a chord with me in a positive way, because I do pay attention to the movement and the relationship between the people and the camera work. But it's also the costume design that I found myself paying a lot more attention after observing her work in person. And I'm very much impressed with the detail and the amount of attention that is paid to creating that fusion between a contemporary print style that is fused with stylings that we can find from antiquity and other periods. So I'm very much impressed with her works, and now I'm paying a lot more attention to films that I loved in the past. I'm brought back to exploring The Color Purple again, the recent rendition of The Color Purple, as well as the original one. And so I found myself drawn to a lot of works, such as filmmakers that embody the talents of costume designers textile artist. And my work very much is based on how the camera angle can involve the audience.
Oh, how the camera angle. Oh, okay. Wow, that's a really good perspective. Now you have me thinking. So it's about the angle. Okay.
Yes. If you can imagine, if you were in a crowd, the camera is placed on the shoulder of someone. You're literally following the movement of this person. You're seeing it,
Through the lenses.
from their lens, and not looking at it from a distance. You're in the midst of a scene. So a lot of my works are based on putting you directly into the scene. Even when you're looking at something from a distance, I try to include elements in which you are able to place yourself directly in the spot, the point of view.
Wow. Okay. Why is social realism, Pan-Africanism, and cultural identity so important in your work?
Well, I think the combination of those subject matters make it a point to do several things at once. We first analyze history and not just try to review history from the perspectives of those that wrote it, but we're also looking to analyze history from the various contexts in which the happenings take place. If I may go back for a moment and cite an event that took place about 50 years ago. You were not around for the Rumble in the Jungle, but some of our colleagues may recall the Ali informant fight that took place in Kinshasa, Zaire. In one of my projects, what I'm looking to do is give the perspective of the local people, the happenings leading up to the fight. And so from that sense, I'm trying to give a perspective that most would not have ever imagined seeing. What you know of is the storylines featuring Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, whether they're considered the hero or the villain, because I know that Muhammad Ali was considered the hero, George Foreman considered the villain, based on how they received the people in the population in which they walked amongst. But there were additional storylines. The other storylines were the people of the communities, the towns that were turned upside down for the fight. And so there's even a story about how certain students were arrested and some later never found, alive again. But these are perspectives that you would not have known if you're only hearing or reading from one set of books or one particular lens. So what I try to do is examine stories and kind of turn it. It's almost like when we say, how do we tell the story of the hunt from the lion's perspective? But what if we're telling the story of the hunt from the grass, the perspective of the grass, viewing all of this? What if we're looking at the story of the hunt from the bird or the leaves up top, taking place when the lion's not just coming at the target, but what if whether it's a lion or another animal climbing up a tree? So I'm trying to present various perspectives that provide us with nuance so that we're better able to articulate storylines, not just from a slanted perspective to make us feel better about ourselves, but we want to tell truthful stories where we may not be brought in the positive light, but usually truth always shines us in the brightest of light. And I find that it's most important to peel back the layers of what these stories represent. So I'm not looking to replicate political talking points, but rather I'm more interested in hearing the firsthand accounts from individuals, firsthand accounts of people that had a chance to understand it from their perspective, and then also to highlight the many different perspectives that can arise from how particular story is told. Just imagine you go to an event, a concert, you're on one end, you have friends on another end. How did they view the concert?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to make it a point to tell these stories from various perspectives as such. I'm very much interested in understanding what are the conservative Black folks saying? What are the progressive Black folks saying? They might be saying some of the same things, but they're looking at it from a different perspective and different lens. But if we're so focused on one group sounding like another group, we tend to lose out and miss out on points that we all can benefit from. Maybe that so-called anarchist is making a point, but maybe we don't like the way the point is being delivered, but what is the actual point that is being said? And maybe the conservative individual has the same perspective that our forefathers had when they were protecting their own townships. But are we looking at that perspective? So in this age that we live in, oftentimes we're getting microwavable news and information. Are we even digging deep to understand what are the actual facts? What is the truth? What is the perspective? How are people receiving what is happening? Who actually received the benefits and the damages? And so there's so many details that we leave out. As a young person coming to the United States, immediately upon reading my first set of history books, I knew immediately that the history of African Americans was never told in its complete form. It was so obvious. And so it was extremely important for me to sit down at the table and at the heels of those that came before me, particularly those that are from this area, because I could never understand the nuance of the African American experience just from the books alone. I would need to sit down and listen to those that live, that have bones buried. Their family have bones buried here. And so they're able to tell me stories that I would never have learned in any other form or fashion. So,
and that's the best way to learn. The best way to learn is speaking to others, or, I would say that social media has definitely been like an educational tool.
Absolutely.
To tell the actual truth of past events versus a textbook.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the algorithm can also slant.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation. Oh, the algorithm. How did your experience is it Kinshasa and Miami influence your art?
Kinshasa.
Yeah. So what was that like?
Well, my experience in Kinshasa, I didn't stay there very long. I left when I was 6, but I did return several times actually. I returned in 2011 to live there for a couple of years. And I've been able to return a few other times since, not for very long periods, for like a month or two. And my return, in retrospect, I'm able to look back and notice that there was a relationship with my American experience that I didn't always connect the dots with, but I was always seeing what was on television as the others. I never, other Black folks from other parts of the world may not share the same type of experience that I had before coming to the United States, but my experience is one where, because you'll have a conversation with different Black folks from other parts of the world where they say that they didn't see racism in the same shape or form. I know that I didn't see it in the same sense, but what I saw and understood very much was there's a difference between being Black and being white, because the white folks seem to be so far away. As a matter of fact, wherever they were, wherever Europe was, or any place that was dominated by the Western management or Western culture, we refer to as Poto. And so whenever we say someone was going to Poto, it's almost like they're going to the land of milk and honey. They're going to a place that had technological advancement and money and everybody living such a wonderful life. This is what this little tube told us, this black and white tube, when I was in Kinshasa, used to tell us that the world was so different. And so once I left Kinshasa, my eyes was open to another perspective that I never understood. I immediately came to Opolaka, neighborhood of Miami. And again, I was in a Black community and had a chance to be adopted by Black America, but also learning firsthand what those connections that I observed back home, and then seeing what were the similarities that I bonded with in America, in Miami specifically. So my father spoke fondly in pointing out that we could have either landed in Miami or Boston. So if I had been raised in Boston, I mean, I'd been telling the same type of stories, but I'm thankful that I came to Miami, and I'm grateful.
Awesome. Well, Bayunga, thank you so much. So what day can we experience your exhibit?
Well, so I have a personal exhibit that is showing at Bridge Red, but my focus is the exhibit that right now is at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. We're delighted to showcase the Professor Joyner's exhibit called A Legacy of Elegance. And what I absolutely love and adore about her exhibit is that I spent some time in Brussels. And so the African print that I saw in her display, I had a chance to see so many different renditions of it. And I remember meeting a designer by the name of Christy Brown that had a very contemporary use of such design and garment works. And so when I saw Professor Joyner's works and how she was able to put it in the context of a different era and time and place, I couldn't help but it brought me back to immediately back in time. But now I'm going back in time, but I'm also going into a different continent.
All right, y'all. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, it's Threads of Resilience, celebrating art, beauty, and cultural legacy. And a big shout out to our guest tonight, Professor Margerette Joyner and Bayunga Kialeuka. So make sure you support, and thank you again. And we'll see you on another episode of MIA. So...
I grew up down here in South Florida, so for me, it's a little bit more personal.
For the Mesman and Dover Law Firm, it's about community.
For us, South Florida's our home. You all are our people.
Our family, our future.
The difference we'll make for you, your loved ones, your kids, matters, because to us, it's personal.
If you need us, call us 24/7 at 866-954-MORE.
That's 866-954-6673. The Mesman and Dover Law Firm, youraccidentattorneys.com.
At DRT Behavioral Services, we provide culturally sensitive mental health evaluations with thorough treatment plans, incorporating alternative forms of wellness, not just Western traditional medicine. Besides medication management and psychotherapy, we provide education to people in the areas of minority mental health with classes on your diet's impact on mood and sleep hygiene for better rest. We also offer weight loss therapy, massages, and facials. Visit brainlovehelp.com today.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov